Hello everyone and welcome to PRAD 393, Sports Communication and Promotion. I'll be your instructor for this course, Dr. Mike Devlin. This is for DePaul University in the summer of 2015, and welcome. I'm really excited to have each of you here. Please take a few moments to watch this introduction video. The goal of this intro video is to give you an overview of the course, give you a brief background about where I'm coming from, and hopefully help you understand why I'm passionate about this and sort of the expertise that I bring to this area. And then lastly, I want to get you familiar with the course offerings and the expectations for this course so you understand where we're going to be going on this and also what's going to be expected for you to contribute. I do want to start off by saying that sports marketing is not the same as sports communication. You'll notice in the business school that there may be some sort of sports marketing class that's offered. Those tend to focus more on how to sell, how to get people to buy tickets, how to get brands to buy in, or how to reach out for partnerships. So it's very from the inside out perspective. Sports communication, or what we're going to be talking about in the PRAD department, what we tend to offer is sort of an outside in perspective. Meaning, how are people using sports as a context and a platform to promote brands and engage audiences? So as we talk about sports, briefly, what do we mean by sports? You'll find that when you actually ask people what sports mean to them, it's a pretty wide array of stuff, and this is why sports communications is so important. For some people, sports is the thing that killed Saturday morning cartoons because of the NCAA's college football on Saturday. For others, sports is nothing more than just an excuse for us to gather, or maybe a way to bond with other people in a social gathering. Take, for instance, my father-in-law. I know one of the best ways I can communicate with him and bond with him is through the beauty of sports. He is an avid sports fan. And yes, that is a picture of him getting excited during one of the Hawks' overtime games from the Stanley Cup playoffs. For some people, again, maybe it's a social aspect, but for some people, sports is nothing more than an excuse to start drinking on a Sunday morning because, by golly, the Bears have the early game. But for others, sports is a matter of life or death. Sports means more to them, and their team means more to them than anything else other than God, as displayed here, the soccer fan. And when I say sports is life and death, I don't just always mean that figuratively. Sometimes that can mean literally, where a young girl her one goal may be to actually talk to and interact with her favorite sports team and her favorite star player. This is a promotion done by Ogilvy, their one goal campaign, which paired people who had a goal with the Hawks and kind of talked about how in life we all have one goal. Beautiful campaign. If you get a chance, take a look at it. So, as I said, good day. I don't know if you're watching this in the morning, afternoon, or night, so we'll just say good day. My name is Mike Devlin, and this is, in fact, DePaul University. I've been here for 2 years now in Chicago, and it's quite different from where I came, and that was in the South, where I got my PhD, down in the University of Alabama. And I do want to share quickly with you this backstory so you better understand where I'm coming from and hopefully understand why I've developed this sort of passion and my expertise in sports. You see, when I was recruited to the University of Alabama to earn my PhD, they originally brought me in and funded me to do research in advertising and media effects, and there wasn't really a sports context involved in that. However, when I got to the University of Alabama, I couldn't help but notice a really neat phenomenon, and that was 102,000 people, marching bands, a few national championship trophies, and a place that not only was it accepted, but it was expected to wear a goofy red jacket and a bow tie and smoke a cigar in your stadium after defeating your rival. This was a very unique atmosphere, all surrounded and influenced by sports. And the more I looked around, I noticed another phenomenon, that people were sort of crazy about their football teams. If you're familiar with the University of Alabama and the legendary coach Bear Bryant, on the left side of the screen there you'll see a man wearing a houndstooth hat, and yes, that is a tattoo of Bear Bryant on his back. On the right side of the screen you'll see someone from Auburn University. There they have sort of this tree called Toomer's Corner, a very legendary tree. They wrap it in toilet paper after a win or when something good happens, so you'll notice that yes, there's a roll of toilet paper that says War Eagle. people identify with these teams so much that they're willing to permanently display their allegiance no matter how sort of ridiculous their tattoos look. Speaking of ridiculous, let's take a look at Clemson's here. Um, yes, people are really willing to brand themselves for a sports team. And if you think this is something that's unique to the South, don't worry. Ohio State, you're not safe either. That is, in fact, Urban Meyer tattooed on the side of an Ohio State fan's shoulder. So this isn't something just for a few people in the South and Alabama where football's a really big thing. But this is sort of, when you look out, this concept of fans and sports is pretty universal. As a side note, when I went to the University of Alabama, the reason I got involved in the sports was because I met a girl on our PhD program. This girl, Natalie Brown, who's now actually my wife. When I met her, I said, well, what is it that you study, or what is it that you are doing here? And she said, I study sports. So any guy who's interested in a girl will do the next obvious thing and say, me too. As a result, I really had to start knowing my sports so I could have these sort of meaningful conversations with her and hopefully get closer, which apparently it kind of worked. Um, but the thing is she's a highly identified sports fan, meaning she was a raging fan and a huge supporter of the University of Alabama football. And it was through working with her and engaging with her and talking with her about sports and how we could use this from a research perspective and familiarizing myself with the literature out there and the concepts, and then interacting with her and her friends, that I noticed that there's this really powerful idea in fandom or fan identification. And I really, using it as an account planner's mentality, use this and realize that there's some beautiful insights that we can gather about sports and sports fans. And I began researching this concept of fan identification, which you'll learn a lot about in Module 1. Briefly, it's the extent to which a fan feels a psychological connection to a team, and that the team's performances are viewed as self-relevant, meaning what happens on the field and these players that someone may only parasocially interact with really alters their self-esteem and how they feel about themselves. Really dynamic concept, and again, we'll revisit this much more depth in Module 1. As I mentioned, though, I was brought to the University of Alabama to study media effects and advertising, so I had to find a way that I could tie this really neat insight and these concepts of fan identification in sports to my research. So I began looking at very practical applications of tying sports to brands and sponsorships and branding opportunities, and talking and engaging with these fans to sell a product or a brand. And as a result, what I'll be presenting to you over this next month is insights from a decade of research. I try to keep things current, so you'll notice I'm not using any age textbooks. I'm going to be using a lot of current events and current scholarly articles that really explore sports, sponsorships, partnerships, and the sociology of sports. And hopefully it'll give you a wide array of information. I've put together a brief path for you guys to sort of follow and understand what you'll be getting out of this class. At the very top of it, we'll be talking about the sociology of highly identified fans. And again, if you approach this from account planner's perspective and advertising, this delivers some really powerful insights about what sports fans really are about and some of their predictive behaviors that hopefully you can use in your job if anyone ever wants to work with a sports franchise or talk to or possibly do a sports sponsorship. Next, we'll be covering some theoretical foundations of sports promotion, and I think it's important to always acknowledge the theory with the practical applications. So what we'll be talking about here are some of the strategies and tactics from a theoretical perspective that organizations and teams use to promote sport and to appeal to audiences. Moving from there, I want to integrate, and again, this is made primarily for the public relations and advertising folks here at DePaul, but I want to introduce how brands fit into sports. So how companies that aren't necessarily sports entities themselves have partnered and built sponsorship opportunities and partnerships in the sporting context. I'll be bringing in a guest speaker from Gatorade who's going to talk about the longevity and the partnerships that Gatorade has been able to develop with sports. It's really hard to separate the two, am I right? I know that social media is a role that, as a young audience and a captive audience, that you guys are engaging, and eventually you're going to be the content experts in. Hopefully, when you're working at an agency and you have your aging CEOs who aren't really into sports media, this is an area where you can capitalize and sort of take an ownership in. But what I want to do is teach you about what social media is being done in sports and some strategies and tactics for using it right, and some things and pitfalls that you'll want to avoid. To reinforce this, I'll be bringing in a guest speaker from U.S. Soccer organization who is the social media manager. She also worked for Notre Dame as their social media manager as well. So I think that'll be something that's really applicable, timely, and will be interesting to you. And then lastly, because everything's sort of moving digital, whether it's e-commerce, internet, or once again social media, we'll be putting all these four concepts in the earlier modules all together and talking about how you can intertwine and interweave all these into the digital format. You'll notice that these are a wide array of concepts, and while I've tried to present a nice path or flow of information from you, we'll be approaching sports and sports context from multiple points. And the reason is that I understand here in PRAD that you all have multiple interests, and it's also, many students say that they want to work in sports, but they sometimes think that means you have to work for a sports team, the Chicago Bears or the Chicago Blackhawks, for example. This course is designed to let you know that there's a lot of opportunities working in sports that are aside from just a team. So I'm hoping that throughout this, maybe one or two of these concepts really stick with you and gives you something that you can be passionate about and take with you and look for employment opportunities and offer a unique skill set that separates you from some of your classmates. And like I said, I think what I'm excited about this course is we'll be bringing in some dynamic guest speakers to you. We have people from the Chicago Bears, the Chicago Bears and the Chicago Cubs front office that will be talking about how they engage fans, and this is sort of closest to our sports marketing perspective in this class. But also be bringing in, like I said, people from Gatorade to talk about their brand managers and how they develop sports partnerships. I'll be bringing the social media manager to talk about how social media is used in sports for sports comm and sports promotion. And then lastly, I'll be bringing a representative from an ad agency to talk about how brands have used the sports context and this concept of highly identified fans to support brand objectives and advertising initiatives. You'll notice that when you look at this that there's a lot of opportunities for you to engage with these industry professionals from a variety of applications, and I'm hoping that this will appeal to you. So what is required of you? Well, this is a course I'll be giving you guys, but education is really about what can you do to understand it, apply it, and then demonstrate that you're learning. I have sent, you should have been emailed this syllabus. Please take a look at the syllabus. If you have any questions about it before the class starts, feel free to email me and I'll get back to you. But there's a couple things I do want to call out that you're going to want to make sure you pay particular attention to. One, looking at a course format, please make sure that you look and jot down these dates. These are when we have guest speakers. It'll be up to you to make sure you're there on time, in attendance for this class. Another area of interest, you'll find that there are no textbooks required for this class. Yay, we don't have to spend money for books. But I have put a collection of readings in D2L, which I'll show you in a minute. It will be your responsibility to make sure that you're getting those readings done in a timely manner. You will need to use those for our quizzes and for our class participation. Which takes us next to our course evaluation. We're not doing any major class projects in this for a variety of reasons. One, the context of time. It's hard to really do some really quality work on something that you may not be familiar in 5 weeks. Two, I tend to not like doing these sort of course projects on this virtual environment because I find that it's hard to really interact and engage with people and share ideas, especially again if it's something that you're not familiar with. But what we have done is I have 2 ways of really assessing whether or not you're applying what we're learning. One, we have our quizzes. There'll be a weekly quiz, for one for each module. It'll be your responsibility to take that quiz before the modules end. And then the other part I want to pull out our attention for is our class discussion. Learning isn't just regurgitating what we're going to be talking about in a quiz, but rather applying it. So each module has a unique discussion opponent where I give you a prompt and an idea, and it'll be up to you to take what we've learned through the readings, through the guest visits, and talk about how you can apply these theories or some of these insights to an actual perspective. Hopefully what this will do is not only demonstrate that you're learning this material, but cause you to critically think about what we're learning and apply it to the social context of what's happening here and now. Not only you're going to be required to post a discussion prompt, but you're also going to be required to engage with your classmates like you would a normal social discussion. Someone makes a point, I hope that you come in and make a supporting point or prompt a question that furthers this discussion. I will be providing a rubric for you guys to understand what makes a good discussion prompt, what makes a bad discussion prompt, and sort of what I'll be looking for to assess to make sure you're critically examining these issues. Um, Again, here's sort of a breakdown of participation, discussion, and quizzes. Make sure you take a look at our policies for this course. And then I provided a few final notes for you to help you. I do want to call out this major one right here. When we have guest speakers, please no electronic devices. You'll notice that when our guest speakers come, they're going to be very engaged, paying full attention to you. They won't be looking at their cell phones and checking their emails and playing on Facebook and texting friends. It's really important that we give them the same courtesy, as they're giving up an hour to 2 hours of their busy work schedule to come and share some insights with you and tell you how to get a job in this field. So please, no electronic devices. Use pen and paper like the old days, and really make sure that we show our guest speakers the appreciation and gratitude for coming out and spending time with us. Another one, if you have a question for in a particular module, rather than email me, there's a virtual question board for each module. I think it's best suited if you ask the question there so I can respond in a public forum. This way, if another student has a similar question, they can get their answer a lot quicker than waiting for me to send them an email back. It also limits the amount of emails that I have to send, and it makes sure that we have a better general flow of communication. And then take a look at our schedule. We have our 3 face-to-face that you'll want to take a note of. And each module is pretty much the same format. Each module you'll have materials to read, a lecture to watch, you'll need to participate in an online discussion, and then you'll need to complete a quiz by the end of that module. For each one of these objectives, I set the due date of when I expect that material to be accessed and responded to. I do want to point out for our participation one, you notice the deadline will be the Sunday at the module's conclusion by midnight. However, a discussion is a two-way street. Make sure that you're posting those discussions early. Don't wait till the very last second to start writing a discussion post, because obviously if you post something at 11:58 on June 21st, no one's going to really go back and have time to respond to it, and we're not going to get as much out of it. So although this is a deadline, that deadline means that's when I'll start looking and evaluating what kind of content was done. You'll want to make sure that you have involved and engaged in these class discussions for that module well before this deadline for each one. And within each module, I've also put, once again, what's required for you, if there's an attendance, and what day and what time. Lastly, if you go to D2L, you'll notice a couple things. Number one, we have our course homepage. I'll be using this news to introduce topics, or if there's any breaking news or insights that I need to deliver, current events. So make sure you're checking this sort of news feed regularly. If you click on our content tab, I've arranged each module in a similar format. You'll notice that there'll be the main module and then 2 submodules, our online objectives and our readings. Under our online objectives, you'll notice that there'll be the lecture, there'll be a link to the discussion board for that, and you'll also find the quiz that you're required to complete. And then also I have our virtual question board. The other submodules are readings, and there I'll post the PDFs of all the readings that you're supposed to download or read before you can finish the quiz and you can engage in the discussion board. And you'll know that you'll see that this will be the same for each of the modules. There are due dates and deadlines set for each of these, so make sure you're accessing this material. And if you ever have any questions about when you need to do something, you can find that information both on the syllabus and in D2L as well. Our discussion boards, you'll also find it if you click here at the discussion boards. It'll take you to, again, the discussion prompts for each module, as well as our virtual discussion board. Grades, you'll be able to see your grade at any time during the class as we go. So each module, I'll grade each module, and you can kind of track of how you're improving or areas you need to improve for each module as you progress through the course. And then if there's someone that you need to email, if you want to collaborate with someone, let's say someone posts something that was of interest to you in a discussion board, or maybe you have a shared interest, you can access your classmates' information here, their emails, and you can have virtual meetings or network through them with that way. I look forward to meeting you on the 23rd face-to-face. I'm excited about this course. If you have any questions about Module 1, please post them to our discussion board, which will open up on June 15th. If you have any questions before the June 15th if you have any questions about our course policies or dates, please feel free to email me in the meantime, and I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely manner. Take care, and thank you very much, and I'm excited about this class.